It's been 3 days, and the silence in this apartment has a weight to it, a physical presence that presses in on me from all sides. It's not just quiet, it's the absence of him. The absence of his heavy footsteps on the hardwood floors. The low hum of the sports channel he always left on for background noise. The sound of his keys hitting the ceramic bowl by the door. Now the only sounds are the mournful groan of the refrigerator and the distant, indifferent city traffic. He's not just gone. He's been surgically removed from this space, and the precision of it is what's killing me. His side of the closet is a void of mocking, empty hangers. Not a single forgotten t-shirt or stray sock left behind. The bathroom counter feels vast and sterile without his clutter. The electric razor, the ridiculously expensive face wash I used to tease him about, the worn-out toothbrush. His favorite coffee mug, the chipped blue one he's had since college, is gone from the dish rack. It's an erasure. As if a phantom cleaning crew came through and scrubbed away any evidence that Silas ever lived here, that he ever loved me. My brain is stuck on a loop, replaying that final night, but the memory is fractured like broken glass. I just see flashes, the look on his face not angry, but something much worse, placidly empty. The final, soft click of the door latching shut. I'm sitting on the floor where his favorite armchair used to be, the carpet still indented from its weight, and I keep whispering to the empty rooms. How? How the hell did it get like this? When we first met, Silas was like a calm harbor in the middle of a storm I didn't even know I was in. He was gentle, attentive, and had this quiet confidence that made my perpetually anxious heart finally slow down. His defining trait, the one I initially found so endearing, was his absolute aversion to conflict. He wasn't a pushover, but he would physically recoil from a raised voice. I remember once we were assembling an IKEA bookshelf, and I was getting frustrated, ready to throw the Allen key across the room. He just gently took my hands, kissed my forehead, and said, "Hey, it's just a bookshelf. Let's take a break and get pizza." He'd rather dismantle the whole thing and start over than have a 5-minute argument. I saw it as a sign of his peaceful, loving nature. Looking back, I see it was a vulnerability, a crack in his armor that I learned to chisel away at. You see, I came into this relationship carrying a whole damn shipping container of baggage. My last serious boyfriend hadn't just cheated on me. He'd done it with his best friend, a girl I had hosted for dinner, a girl whose tears I had dried after her own breakup. The betrayal was so cliché, so profoundly humiliating, that it rewired my brain. It installed a virus that flagged every friendship, every casual text, as a potential threat. So with Silas, this wonderful, calm man, I started building walls. Not around us, but around him, isolating him in a gilded cage I called protecting our bubble. It started with Owen, his best friend since college. Owen had a sarcastic, biting sense of humor that I knew Silas loved, but I began to weaponize it. After a night out where they'd been roasting each other, I'd get quiet in the car. When Silas asked what was wrong, I'd sigh. It's just, the way Owen talks about his exes, it makes me feel like he doesn't respect women. And the way he jokes about me being the ball and chain. I know he's kidding, but it stings, you know. Silas, hating to see me upset, wouldn't defend Owen. He'd just pull me close and say, "He's an idiot, don't listen to him." But the seed was planted. The next time we were supposed to see Owen, I'd have a sudden migraine. Slowly, Silas started making excuses for them to hang out one-on-one, and eventually, the invitations dwindled. Then there was Maya. She and Silas had been friends since they were kids, a purely platonic bond that my inner demon saw as a ticking time bomb. When Maya got a big promotion at her law firm, she called Silas, ecstatic. After he hung up, beaming with pride for her, I manufactured a mood. I became distant. "It's amazing she's doing so well," I said later, picking at my food. "She just seems to need so much validation from you. It's almost like she sees our relationship as a competition." It was a ludicrous, insane thing to say, but I delivered it with a tremor in my voice. Silas looked utterly confused. "Thalia, that's crazy. We've been friends forever." "I know," I'd say, my eyes welling up. "I'm sorry, it's my issue, I know, I just feel insecure sometimes." Checkmate. I had made it about my fragility, not his friendship. The next time Maya suggested brunch, Silas hesitated and then lied, saying we already had plans. I was pruning his social tree, branch by branch, with the delicate precision of a gardener tending to prize-winning roses. I told myself I was just ensuring my own security, preventing history from repeating itself. I wasn't a monster. I was just a girl in love, protecting what was hers. The final, and most crucial, part of my strategy was severing the cord between him and Owen. Their bond was the deepest, the one I saw as the ultimate threat. It was a friendship forged in late-night study sessions, post-breakup drinking binges, and the kind of unspoken understanding that only comes with years of shared history. I needed a tactical nuke, not just the slow-acting poison I'd used on the others. The opportunity presented itself at Owen's annual summer barbecue, an event Silas looked forward to all year. I spent the week leading up to it laying the groundwork with theatrical precision. I complained of a nagging headache, of feeling constantly drained. I think I might be coming down with something, I'd sigh, letting him feel my forehead. I'm probably not going to be much fun at a big party. I knew Silas, ever the peacemaker and doting boyfriend, would never force me to go. He'd suggest I stay home and rest, and he'd just pop in for an hour to say hi and drop off the potato salad we'd made. It was exactly what I was counting on. He came home that evening smelling of charcoal and beer, a relaxed, happy smile on his face. That's when I detonated the bomb. I had set the stage perfectly. I was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, the lights dimmed. I'd spent the last 20 minutes thinking of the saddest movie I'd ever seen to get the tears flowing. When he walked in, I looked up, my face a carefully constructed mask of tear-streaked devastation. He rushed to my side, his good mood evaporating instantly. "Thalia, baby, what's wrong? What happened? Are you feeling worse?" I let out a shuddering sob that I summoned from the depths of my acting ability. "I didn't want to tell you," I whispered, burying my face in his chest so he couldn't see my eyes. "I didn't want to ruin your night with your friends." I told him that Owen had come back to the apartment after the party, using the excuse that he'd forgotten his sunglasses. I painted a vivid, disgusting picture, borrowing details from every horror story I'd ever heard. I said he was drunk, that his breath smelled sour. I described how he'd cornered me in our small kitchen, blocking the exit, his words slurring as he told me Silas was lucky, and that if he had a girl like me, he'd know what to do with her. I added a final, cinematic detail, saying he'd put his hand on my lower back, a gesture that was both intimate and threatening. I claimed I had to shove him away and threatened to call the police to get him to leave. It was a masterpiece of a lie, constructed from my deepest fears and aimed directly at Silas's core programming, his protective instincts and his absolute horror of confrontation. I watched his face transform. The happy, relaxed man from 5 minutes ago vanished. His jaw tightened and his eyes went cold and hard. He didn't yell. He didn't punch a wall. That wasn't his way. He just went utterly, terrifyingly still. He picked up his phone, and I saw his thumb hover over Owen's contact. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. This was it. If he called, my entire world would implode. But he didn't. He just pressed down and a small menu popped up. He selected Delete Contact. Then he opened Instagram, searched for Owen's name, and blocked him. Then Facebook. It was a silent, methodical execution. He never asked a single follow-up question. He didn't ask why I didn't call him immediately. He didn't ask for more details. He simply accepted my version of reality, because the alternative, a messy, gut-wrenching, emotionally charged confrontation with his best friend, was simply not something he was capable of. He wrapped his arms around me, pulling me into a hug that felt more like a shield than an embrace. "He'll never bother you again," he vowed, his voice low and firm. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'll protect you." And as I cried into his shoulder, a sick, twisted part of me felt a surge of triumph. The last and strongest wall was in place. He was all mine now. And so we come back to the beginning, to 3 nights ago. It was Silas's 30th birthday, and I had orchestrated what I considered the perfect, intimate celebration. No friends, no family, just us. I'd spent a fortune on a dry-aged steak, opened a bottle of wine he loved, and put on the jazz playlist from our first date. I was presenting him with a world scrubbed clean of any outside influence, a world where I was his sun, moon, and stars. He was quiet during dinner, but I chalked it up to him being moved by the gesture. He smiled, he thanked me, he told me I was amazing. I felt secure, triumphant even. Then, at precisely 8 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I frowned, annoyed. "Are you expecting someone?" I asked. Silas just looked at me, his expression unreadable, and said, "I am." He stood up, calmly walked to the door and opened it, and my entire, carefully constructed world shattered. Standing in the hallway were Owen and Maya. Behind them, I could see the faces of at least half a dozen other friends I had systematically pushed out of Silas's life over the past 2 years. They weren't angry, they looked sad, pitiful even. My heart stopped. I just stood there, frozen, the wine glass heavy in my hand. "What is this?" I stammered, looking at Silas, my voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer me. He just stepped aside to let them all file into our apartment, their presence filling the space with a suffocating judgment. He walked over to the small console table by the door and picked up his phone. "Thalia," he said, and his voice was so devoid of emotion it was terrifying. "For the last 6 months, I've had a feeling. A deep, sick feeling that something was wrong. That the world you were describing to me didn't match the people I knew." He pressed a button on his phone, and a recording began to play. It was my voice, crystal clear. It was from a phone call I'd made to my sister a few days after the barbecue incident. My voice, giddy and triumphant, bragging. And the best part is, he didn't even question it. He just deleted Owen's number right in front of me. I finally have him all to myself. No more annoying friends to worry about. He then explained, in that same flat tone, that the new dash cam in his car recorded audio, and it had captured my entire conversation on the car's Bluetooth system. He'd found it by accident a few months ago. He said he'd hoped he was wrong, that he'd spent months just watching, waiting for me to show him that the recording was a fluke, a moment of madness. But I never did. He looked at me, then at Owen, then at Maya. "I let you poison my life because I was too cowardly to face a fight," he said, his words directed at me but meant for them. "I let you make me doubt people I've loved my whole life, and for that, I'm sorry." He turned back to me, his eyes finally showing a flicker of something. Profound, bottomless disappointment. "This is my lesson, for me to learn not to be a coward. And for you," he said, his gaze sweeping over my horrified face, "to see what it feels like. To have your lies exposed in front of everyone. To be utterly, completely alone." Then he walked to the door, and his friends parted for him like the Red Sea. He didn't look back. "We're done, Thalia." And then he, and every person I had wronged, walked out of my life, leaving me standing alone in the middle of his birthday party for 2. The moment the door clicked shut, the silence they left behind rushed in, a deafening roar that made my ears ring. For a full minute, I didn't move. I just stood there, staring at the wood grain of the door, my brain refusing to process the scene that had just unfolded. The steak was still sitting on the plates. The candles I'd lit were still flickering, casting dancing, mocking shadows on the walls. My first instinct was pure animal panic. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking so violently I could barely unlock it. I called Silas. It rang once, then went straight to voicemail. His voice, cheerful and recorded months ago, filled my ear. "Hey, you've reached Silas. Leave a message." I hung up and tried again. Voicemail. I sent a frantic barrage of texts. "Silas, please, we need to talk. It was a mistake, I can explain. I love you, don't do this." Each one was sent with a green bubble, delivered, not read. Then, after the 5th one, a small notification appeared under my last message. "Message blocking is active." My world tilted on its axis. He had blocked me, just like that, with a clinical efficiency that mirrored the way he deleted Owen's number all those months ago. My panic morphed into a desperate, clawing need for connection, for someone to tell me this wasn't real. I scrolled through my contacts and landed on Amelia's name. She was one of our mutual friends, someone I'd always kept at arm's length but who had always been kind. I called her. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "Amelia," I cried, the words tumbling out in a torrent of sobs. "You were there, you saw what happened, please, you have to talk to him for me, he's not listening." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When she finally spoke, Her voice was cold, stripped of all its usual warmth. "Thalia," she said, and the way she said my name made my blood run cold. "What did you expect? You systematically, cruelly, lied to him and isolated him from everyone who cared about him. You humiliated people who had been nothing but good to you. You did that. This is the consequence. Honestly, just leave him alone. He deserves some peace." And then she hung up. Defeated, I let the phone slip from my hand. The apartment felt cavernous, alien. I started walking through the rooms, a ghost in my own home, touching things he had touched. His pillow, which still smelled faintly of his shampoo. The worn patch on the arm of the sofa where he always rested his elbow. I was looking for something, anything, a sign that this was a nightmare he'd snap out of. In his small home office, I started pulling open drawers, not even knowing what I was searching for. In the bottom drawer of his filing cabinet, tucked away beneath old tax returns, was a sleek, dark blue folder. My heart pounded as I pulled it out. The label on it read, "The Future." Inside was a meticulously planned itinerary for a 2-week trip to Italy, a place I'd always dreamed of going. There were printouts of boutique hotels in Tuscany, notes on cooking classes in Rome, even a list of gelato shops he'd researched. And tucked into a side pocket was a printout from a jewelry website, an order confirmation for a custom-designed engagement ring with a beautiful, simple sapphire. The delivery date was scheduled for next week. The confirmation was dated 6 months ago, before he found the recording, before he knew the truth. I sank to the floor, the papers scattering around me, and I finally, truly began to scream. It's been weeks now, or maybe months. Time has lost its sharp edges, blurring into a monotonous cycle of gray dawns and long, hollow nights. The apartment is no longer just empty, it's a mausoleum. I lost my job. My boss called it downsizing, but I know the truth. I stopped showing up, stopped answering emails. My life has shrunk to the 4 walls of this apartment and the cold, blue glow of my phone's screen. That screen is my window, my tormentor, and my only connection to the world I torched. My days and most of my nights are spent in a ritual of self-flagellation. I have all of their social media profiles bookmarked. Owen's, Amelia's, and Maya's. His is private, of course. He locked it down that same night. But his friends are my conduit to him, my keyhole through which I can watch the life that goes on without me. I've become a digital ghost, a silent observer of their happiness. I see pictures of brunches I wasn't invited to, weekend trips I was excluded from, inside jokes I no longer understand. Each post is a fresh stab, a vibrant, full-color confirmation of my exile. The worst part is seeing him. He's in the background of their photos, at first just a glimpse of a shoulder or the back of his head. But lately, he's been appearing more. And he looks lighter. The perpetual tension I used to see in his shoulders is gone. He's smiling. Not the polite, placid smile he gave me in those last few months, but a real, genuine, eye-crinkling smile that I haven't seen in years. A smile I thought I was the cause of, but now I realize I was the cure for. Last night was the final turn of the screw. Maya posted a new picture. It was a group shot from a barbecue at Owen's place, a perfect echo of the day I set my final trap. They were all there, gathered on the lawn, laughing. Silas was standing in the middle, his arm casually draped around Maya's shoulders. He was looking at her, not the camera, with that same unguarded, happy expression. The sunlight caught in his hair, and he looked beautiful and free. The caption under the photo posted by Maya was simple. It just said, "Rebuilding." And it feels so good. I stared at that picture until my eyes burned, and the faces blurred into meaningless shapes of color and light. I closed the app, my thumb hovering over the delete icon, my mind screaming at me to stop, to throw the phone against the wall and shatter this window to my own personal hell. But I can't. A few minutes later, I opened it again. I zoomed in on his face, on his smile, on the way he was looking at her. And I just lay there in the dark, refreshing the page over and over, waiting for another picture, another update, another perfectly curated glimpse into the happy life I so meticulously destroyed.